My name is Roshan, and I'm your co-host for today, along with my colleague from BNI Rising Phoenix, Suresh, who will also assist as a co-host. So we have a very powerful and impactful series ready for you. But before that, I would like to ask Vijay to kindly say a few words and kick this program off. Vijay, over to you.
Thank you very much, Roshan. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank Roshan, Suresh, and the whole team behind the scenes. We have Pradeep, Reem, Raki, Samrat, and of course our speakers today who will be introduced in detail as well shortly. You know, we're living in unprecedented times, and I don't believe there's a single person on the planet who knows the exact path ahead. But as human beings, we are a resilient species, and that's why we are who we are. This too shall pass and will come out stronger and hopefully more wiser. There is a saying that what you think is what you become. And you know, we get about 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a single day. 90 to 95% of these thoughts spin over to the next day. And these thoughts lead to the choices that we make. The choices that we make lead to our behavior, and our behavior creates our experiences. Our experiences produce the emotions and the feelings we get, and our feelings create our attitude. Our attitude forms our habits, and our habits create our personality. And it's our personality that will determine our destiny. These webinars are designed to shape our thoughts so that we are fully prepared to face the future which lies ahead. Our three speakers today are part of the BNI family, and we're grateful that we have such an exceptional pool of givers across the whole organization, and that's what makes us and keeps us powerful together. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. So let's dive right into it. And at this moment, I would like to introduce our first speaker to our audience. Then that is none other than Wendy Shaw, our master trainer for BNI Middle East. A quick introduction is that Wendy has been a member of BNI for the last 10 years. She's passionate about people and brings 30 years of experience in training and coaching. Wendy is also the first trainer of Embraining in the UAE, which helps connect and align multiple brains of your head, your heart, and your gut. She has taught hundreds of NLPers and coaches, plus thousands of leaders, managers, supervisors, and employees. Wendy also works with business schools around the globe. And in-person training is, Wendy is shifting to virtual training sessions via Zoom webinars, and you could attend any one of them. So in summary, she helps people feel connected during uncertain times. Wendy, over to you.
Thanks, Roshan. Good morning, BNI, and welcome to our first webinar series today. I'd like to explore today by kicking off and exploring your mindset. So crisis versus opportunity. This is one of my favorite reframes, and it's helped me shift my mindset so many times. Now, let me start with a quote. Collaboration and community is the way forward. And right now, I am so glad to be part of our BNI community, and I'm valuing my network more than ever. Grant Susalu was both my teacher and my mentor. And I remember him saying that the world was heading towards exponential change. He even said that in the year 2020, there was going to be a big shift in the world. Now, I don't know what he truly meant, but we're certainly facing a massive global disruption right now. Now, how many of you have seen this graphic? It's been blasted a lot recently on lots of different platforms, including WhatsApp, and I've seen it on Facebook as well. So my first question for you today is, which zone are you in? 6 weeks ago, I was frustrated with having to postpone flights and change all my travel plans. 5 weeks ago, I was feeling concerned. 4 weeks ago, I was in the fear zone. I was complaining that my clients were postponing and my schedule was getting emptier and emptier. I was getting upset with the negative posts that I was seeing on social media. And I also realized quite quickly how unhealthy it was. I even remember spending time with a friend, and she had the Sky News alerts popping up on her phone. So even having a conversation with her was so disrupted. So moving into the learning zone, how many of you can relate to stepping into this direction? The learning zone is about becoming more aware, checking in, identifying with your emotions, and accepting what I can and can't control. Filtering what I allow into my world. I know I removed myself from several WhatsApp groups because I couldn't cope with all of the negativity and so much fake news. But I also realized that even though some people can call it scaremongering, people were just doing their best and they were operating from that fear zone. And moving into the growth zone. So it's probably the healthiest place to be right now. So exploring what can I do to help other people. For me personally, I set up regular online meetups for anybody who was struggling to come and join us for some positive daily chat. And I kept myself busy, okay, probably too busy at times. And I've been learning as much as I can to cope and build with my new skills so I can adapt and shift what I do to helping even more people online. So spreading hope is so important because hope is actually stronger than fear. And we all need something to hope towards. So where we're all coming from, and we've probably lived through this, fudge, fear, uncertainty, danger, greed, and envy. So much fear, fear of our health, fear for our families, fear for our businesses, fear of loss. And we were still experiencing a lot of uncertainty. The danger is about the danger of catching this virus, the danger of not washing our hands, greed, that's probably driving a lot of the binge shopping and stocking up on toilet rolls, and envy, envying others who aren't in lockdown, envying those that their businesses are actually thriving right now, even envying those that are breaking the rules. They're running and exercising outside, they're walking their dogs. I even envy some of the kids that I see playing outside. So what I'd like to do, we are still facing massive uncertainty right now. And what we need to focus on is how we can unravel the facts. And my top tip is go to source. Don't ask questions or advice on Facebook or WhatsApp group. Go to the World Health Organization. Go and check out the local authorities. What directions are they giving us? Fake news and social influences simply creates even more fudge. Now, we've all experienced negative emotions in the last few weeks, and we're actually going through a grieving process. Now, grieving happens when we face a significant loss or a significant change. And that could be a job, a business, but also a way of life. So right now, we're all experiencing this grief and loss of how our lives used to be. And that takes us into unknown territory. So the stages of loss include denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and then acceptance. And there's now a sixth stage of the grieving process, which is known as finding meaning. So hopefully we're moving closer and closer away from those negative emotions as we slowly create our new normal. But right now we've all been thrown way outside of our comfort zones. So how do we cope with this uncomfortable zone? Well, I'd like to give you ice cream. But due to physical distancing, I can't give it to you in person. So this acronym will just have to do. So over the last few weeks, I've been researching the most important leadership traits during times of crisis, and I've shaped them into ice cream. So ICE stands for introspection, calmness, and empathy. Introspection is checking in on your thoughts and your feelings, recognizing what are your triggers that are creating you more stress. C is for calmness, bringing calmness into situations. As leaders, simply by bringing that calmness helps your employees, your family, your clients, and also your friends. E is for empathy. Empathy for the frontline workers, the healthcare workers, and also lots of empathy for people who have suffered, who are suffering, and those that have also lost their loved ones. So for CREAM, I've got compassion, responsibility, engagement, action, and mindset. So compassion, both for yourself and for others. So taking care of yourself and also showing kindness to others. It's amazing how many people around the globe, communities, so much is happening that's demonstrating thoughtful kindness right now, much of which we haven't seen, or perhaps it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this current situation. R is for responsibility. Your responsibility for those that rely on you. So your employees, your colleagues, your clients, and your family. Also your responsibilities as a business owner. And we're scheduling lots of support and topics to help you with that. E is for engagement. So during these times of working remotely and self-isolation, keep connecting. Reach out to others and have conversations. We have a basic human need to connect with other people. So reach out to people, have conversations, and it's communication. Communicate with your teams. Get them involved with brainstorming ideas. It's better that we all suffer a little than a few suffer a lot. A is for action. Doing what you can. And that could be making decisions without waiting for all of the information, then adapting and modifying as you go along. Action is also doing what you must do. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, but also make sure that you're eating healthily, boost your immune system, and get some exercise on a daily basis. And then M is for mindset. And that's really what BJ mentioned previously, but looking and exploring what exactly are you focusing on. So in the Chinese language, the word crisis is made up of two symbols. The first is danger. It's a time of danger. And the second symbol is a pivotal point of change and opportunity. So my question for you now is, we're all standing in front of this current crisis. Now, what are you choosing? Because this really is your choice. Are you choosing to focus on the danger? Maybe that's your initial reaction. What is it that you need to do immediately and how you react to the situation? Now, if we stay looking at that danger, we're really focusing on what is wrong. When we're focusing on what's wrong, we become powerless because it's all focusing on everything outside of us. Then on the other side, this time of opportunity. If we focus on the opportunity, we start shifting and exploring what's possible. So if your business is suffering right now, what are the opportunities to create new products or services? Have a look at what are your customers' new emerging pain points and how can you help solve them in new ways. And that collaboration. How can you collaborate with others? How can we explore opportunities within our BNI community? So this is really why we've come together as a region. We've been identifying the most needed topics. So many of you would have completed the survey that we sent out. And we're putting on experts, both inside and outside of BNI, that can offer us guidance and support for your business, but also your well-being. So exploring those possibilities. Now here is my call to action. 3 things that you can do. 3 things that you can do every day to move you out of the fear zone and into that growth zone. So number 1, gratitude. So what do I appreciate today? Ask yourself that question and find things to be appreciative of. So today I'm really appreciating my BNI community, and I'm so thankful to have close relationships and a circle of people that truly want to help me. The next one is learning. What can I learn from what's happening, and how might this help me in the future? I'm learning that I can't do what I do in person right now, but I'm learning new skills and new ways of how to do virtual webinars, and I'm exploring new ways of transforming how I do what I do to reach people in different ways. And also service. Who can I encourage today, and what needs am I aware of that I can help with? So who do I know that needs help, and how can I support them? What are my fellow BNI members asking for, both for their business and also personally? So this is really listening closely, having one-to-ones with my fellow members, and really understanding what it is that they need and exploring ways of helping. Because ultimately, we're all in this together. We know that there's going to be light at the end of this tunnel. We just can't see it yet. And I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to having a fixed date. So adding these 3 things, 3 action points to our daily life, that gratitude, lifelong learning, and givers gain. Sounds a bit like the BNI core values. This is what's going to help us get through the days and weeks ahead. So finally, I've slightly adapted Grant's quote just a little bit, because with the right mindset and working together, collaborating and exploring opportunities within our BNI community, that's the way forward. Now, I'd love to hear your questions, and I look forward to coming back later on to provide some answers. So my message for you is to keep breathing. We're going to get through this, and it's all about what we are choosing on. Let's focus on those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. And what I invite all of you is to put in your Q&As in the Q&A chat bar that you would see at the bottom of your screen. And Wendy, as she said, would come back and answer those later on at the end of the program. So please go ahead, type in any Q&As we have so that our panelists can have them answered at the end. So I'll give you about 15 seconds for that, 15, 20 seconds for you to do that. Great. So that was very insightful, Wendy. Thank you for that. And now we move on to our second speaker. She is Anna, and Anna is a member of the BNI Evergreens chapter. Anna enjoys dancing with disruptive ideas. She's passionately curious and genuinely interested in medicine, technology, innovation, digital transformation, technology for good, and people. She's a member, as I said, of BNI Evergreen, and Anna has a superpower. She is a super connector. She also has a strong medical and marketing and a tech background, along with years of commercial experience combined, can be translated into a powerful tool. Anna believes in the transformational power of accepting others and helping them see their potential. Anna, over to you for your part of the webinar.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Roshan, for that. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Next, please. So this morning, I want to speak to you about this situation we are going through. And I have a very special ask to all of you. Please don't be positive. And I know it sounds weird, right? You might wonder, wait, what did she just said? Next, please. Next. My request to all of you is please be optimistic. Be optimistic and please, can we move to the next, please? Be optimistic. And why be optimistic? And I'm not saying be positive, because positivism is a very interesting thing we hear, and we are going to read about all over the social media, all over the media, and a lot of people is going to come and talk to us about the power of the positive thinking, which I agree completely. But being positive is just a state of mind that most time is not accompanied with a lot of actions and a lot of actionable plans to move forward. So my request and my invitation to all of you is to be optimistic, because the optimism is not the denial of the reality, but the acceptance of it to move forward and planning. Please, next. Optimism is doing something towards changing the reality that we are living in. As I was saying, optimism invites us to plan, to project, and to use the tools that are available, or to look for tools and for associations that can help us towards changing that reality and projecting changes that are going to happen. Things are going to change, things are going to move forward, and it all depends on how we plan about it and how optimistic we are, but at the same time, how realistic we are. Optimism is an inclination to put the most favorable construction upon actions and events to anticipate the best possible outcome. That's the definition. So again, it's an invitation for all of us to remain in a process of constructing and looking at events at the same time as we have actions that accompany this process in order to look and with a mindset of looking forward a best possible outcome. Next. We are going to get through this, and I think that's a good news, and we all know about this within. We know it, and we have a lot of answers within ourselves. And the invitation that I have for all of you today here is that, okay, just look at those answers that you already know. We are very intuitive beings, and as a community, we are also a collective of intuitive people. So what I'm asking from you is, you know we are going to get through this. We are going to do it, and we are able to do it together. That's my invitation too. We are going to move towards this, and this is not a positive thinking. This is an optimistic thought based on statistics, based on realities, and based on a process of what Vijay was saying today, the resilience of the human beings. As a species, we have evolved. This is not the first crisis that we are looking at. Yes, maybe most of our generations haven't gone through any similar situation yet. But the good news is we know how to do this within ourselves. We know how to get over it. And we know that one of the most important things, one of the most important tools we all have to get through this is this togetherness. And that's why I'm here to invite you and to remind you here in BNI and here globally, we are powerful when we come together. So this is an invitation to remain optimistic, to trust your fellow members, and to remember, we are going to overcome this together because we are powerful together. So that's as much for me. If you have questions or if you have any comments, I would be happy to read them. And back to you, Roshan.
Thank you, Anna. Optimism is the way forward. Thank you very much for that insight. Just a reminder again to all our attendees, please type in your questions for Anna or even for Wendy in the Q&A chat bar that you see at the bottom of your screens. Please do not post them on the chat because that's a separate area. We would appreciate if you posted on the Q&A chat. So I'll give you another 15 seconds or so to put up any of the questions that you have for Anna, who will answer them at the end of our webinar. Please go ahead. Good, thank you. So let's keep moving on, moving forward. And we now move into an area where our next panelist, Mr. Samir GP, is going to take us through his thoughts on how we keep being optimistic, how we keep moving forward, both for personal and our business lives as we come out of this situation. So just before that, I'd like to quickly introduce Samir to all of you. Samir is an executive life coach and trainer who helps leaders and team members have empowered conversations with themselves and with each other towards achieving their best results. He is a member of BNI Dynamite and one of our facilitators in the Key Skills Program workshops offered by BNI. So Samir, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. And thank you, Roshan, for that introduction. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity to connect with BNI members. To begin with, in the 1890s, there was a gentleman who was in Chicago. This gentleman had to the equivalent of $843 adjusted for inflation in 2018 with him, and he decided to start a company. And that company was selling soap. Now, he is a person who always wanted to give more than what the customer expected out of him. So with every soap, he started giving baking soda powder. So when he gave this powder to people, the free product that he was giving, where he was adding additional value, started becoming more popular than the soap itself. So he shifted his business to selling more baking powder. Now, when he started selling baking powder, his old way of giving more than what is expected out of him, we find that he started giving them gum, chewing gum. And those gums became so popular, then he shifted to started selling those gums. And those are what we call Wrigley's. This gentleman, William Wrigley Jr., became so successful that he had his own island, he had his own steamer, he had a lot of things that he did for the country, the United States. 1938, there was a gentleman who started a trading company that was selling this and that. And then after that, he started started diversifying himself into different verticals. He got into construction, he got into supermarkets, he got into electronics, he got into so many other verticals. But today, we know him because of his brand, Samsung. He started off as a trading company, and today they are one of these most respected brands in the world. In 2006, there was this gentleman and two of his friends. They started a company where they were selling software. They were selling software to bus operators. They were selling the software that would allow the bus operators to book seats with their clients. As he started doing this business, his focus and his clientele at that point of time were bus operators. But he realized with his team that there is a huge opportunity for them to pivot and to look at a bigger mass. And that was the end consumer themselves. And then when they shifted, they created this company called Redbus Inn. Today, they are the largest portal online that integrates more than 2,500 bus operators across India itself. And they are operational in multiple countries today: India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Colombia, Peru. And out of our member database of 20 million users, they have made more than 180 million trips. Now, why am I sharing all of this with you here? 3 different stories: Wrigley's, Samsung, and Redbus. All these companies, they started off in a place, but they moved on to a different place. And they became even more successful. And today in these times, we might come up with the idea of trying to survive the situation. But what I would invite each one of you to do is stop trying to survive and look to thrive. And what does that mean? It means to have thoughts and take action in such a manner that we are looking at not just surviving the scenario, but looking at how we can thrive in the scenario. And for that, what I'll be doing is I'll be sharing with you some tips over here. But if you look at history, there were companies that were so successful, and they didn't have to go through a pandemic to be wiped out. Kodak is a company that was the company that invented or discovered digital photography. Yet they chose to ignore it. They chose not to address it because they felt that it was not the moment to pivot. They felt it was not the right product because it would compromise or jeopardize their business that was doing so well, where they were selling camera film rolls. Nokia, on the other hand, a company that started off in the 17th, 18th century, there were a company that was selling paper. It was a paper mill company. And they got into so many verticals that they reached a point in the late 20th century and realized mobile phones is a way forward, and they closed on almost all other verticals and focused only on phones. And they got so dominant, yet they also collapsed. So what is important from this? Jenny Blake in her book Pivot says, the only move that matters is your next one. What does that mean? We are always in a position where we have to look at what is the next move that we are making in our lives, in our businesses, in everything that we do. And the one that is the next one, the one that you today make for yourself, is what will define the outcome of how you thrive or survive or perish. We have the opportunity to stay in the game. We have the opportunity to look at life different. What triggers our thoughts? Vijay today at the introduction address did mention our destiny is defined by our thoughts. And what triggers our thoughts are circumstances. And today, in the times that we live in, the circumstances that we are in triggers different kinds of thoughts. ask ourselves, are those thoughts empowering us or disempowering us? Are those thoughts allowing us to think from a survival mindset or a thriving mindset? If we look forward to living and being in a thriving mindset, then what we will do is we will start setting a different, unique mindset that will help us shape our realities differently. We are blessed as BNI members to have the community and the resources around us upon which we can leverage. There are many business owners out there who do not have that, who have to depend only upon themselves. We are different. We have this support and we have this ongoing support, and we are not having a support in just one vertical. The unique formula or the unique structure of BNI, where we have people from different industries coming together, gives us unique circumstances that we can take advantage of. And if we come with the consideration that we are in these circumstances and we have to create a thriving mindset, then when we set intentions for ourselves, we'll make sure that those intentions are powerful intentions, are empowered intentions. And what do I mean by intentions versus empowered intentions? Intentions are like goals. Intentions are like how we operate. Everything, whether we like it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, we always set intentions. Sometimes the intention that we set is we have to make more money, or we have to capture the market, or we have to beat the competitor, or we have to be more successful, or we have to buy that house, or we have to have that villa, or we have to have that jet plane. It could be anything. What is the distinction between intention that is set that is not empowered is that we sometimes tend to focus very narrow. We focus within ourselves, and all our intentions come from within us. Intentions, if it is set from within us, it is very powerful indeed. If we work on somebody else's intentions, if we work on satisfying somebody else's need, then what happens is we lose the opportunity to live fulfilled lives. Now, once we start setting intentions for ourselves, then we start living empowered lives. But we can take that a notch up. A good example in point is how children grow up trying to fulfill the dreams of their parents, not realizing they have their own dreams and they can create their own dreams and they can leverage upon what they are truly about. Empowered intention is when you start fulfilling what is deep within you, but it comes through you. Meaning, you look at the society at large and you ask yourself, how can I take what I have and my goals and align it with society? So to create empowered intentions, I'm going to take you through a 3-step process. The first one is being effortless. Now we have the opportunity to live a life where we struggle to make ends meet, or we struggle to become successful. And by success, I just don't mean financially successful. Any kind of success that we have, we can be successful with a lot of effort or effortlessly. If I were to ask you to choose effort versus effortless, I'm sure each one of you would choose to be effortlessly successful. But to be effortlessly successful, what is very, very important is for you to realize what are your strengths. And from an organization perspective, you got to look within your team and introspect and ask yourself, what is the strength that I have with my team members? If we look into our people and realize our people are our greatest capital that we have, it is our greatest resource that we have in these challenging times. It is the greatest resource that we have in the greatest opportunity that we are living in right now. We will see an opportunity once we see the strengths within our people. And a great tool to discover what the strengths are is the Clifton strength test that you can take online by Gallup. Once you take the test, or once you realize the potential, once you realize what is the strength that you can capitalize upon of yourself as well as your team members, you will start seeing that your success will start becoming effortless versus putting in a lot of effort. Number 2, problem. If you look at every business that exists in this world, it exists to solve a problem, to solve a need in the market. If it is not solving a problem, it will not exist. It will cease to exist. We have to ask ourselves, what is the greatest problem currently that we would like to solve using the strengths that we have that we can capitalize upon? What we are bringing to the table is strengths and skills. I showed you in the earlier stories of the three gentlemen. They all started somewhere, but the way that they succeeded was when they pivoted. Now, it's not important that everyone must pivot, but it is important that you have to look if you are constantly solving a problem. And to solve the problem better than anybody else is what will make the true difference between you surviving versus you thriving. If you decide to solve a problem better than anybody else, then you have the opportunity to truly, truly thrive. And my third step is solving. Be in solving mode. Be continuously asking yourself, what is the problem that I can solve? And then go out and solve it. Meaning, go take action. Go take action so that you will see results. Without taking action, there is nothing that will move or shift. Yes, everything starts with intentions. Everything starts with thoughts. But it does not end there. If all you have is thoughts and if all you have is intentions or empowered intentions, that is not making you take action, that is not making you solve a problem in society or for yourself, then you will be where you are. And if you stay where you are, that means you're not progressing. And that means you're perishing. It's very important that we keep moving. There's this businessman that I had asked once, you are so rich, you have so much money, you have so much wealth, you're so successful. Why do you still keep working? Why do you still go on doing this, what you do every single day? And he said, Samir, it's like swimming in the ocean. When you keep swimming and you keep going ahead, you reach a point where you cannot stop, because if you stop, you will sink, you will go down. You have to keep moving ahead, surging ahead, and that will only make you stronger and stronger. So I invite each one of you to follow these 3 steps. Effortless problem solving, meaning identify what is the things that comes to you and your team effortlessly. What are your greatest strengths? Identify them. Look out for the problem that you would love to solve today, because the market today is evolved. We have new problems that we can all solve. Ask yourself, what is a problem that you can solve? And then go out and start solving them. And you'll realize that the first and second step, the first one is about you and the second one is about others. And when you realize that you and others, you and the community together, and when you both start taking action, is when you will start living an empowered life. When you'll create an empowered society, when you'll truly create an empowered scenario for yourself and for everyone around us. It is an easy to remember 3-step formula, effortless problem solving, but each word by itself has deep meaning. I invite you to explore them. To end, I would end with this quote from Jenny Blake. It says, if change is the only constant, let's get better at it, because we have to. This is who we are. This is how we are. And as BNI members, let us take a pledge to help our communities, to come together, to support each other, and to be the best version of ourselves in these trying times, these challenging times, but also these opportunist times. These times where we can truly leverage to create the best solutions for ourselves, our society, our members, and for our families. Over to you. I'll take any questions at the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Samir. That was great and very insightful. So as we did previously, I invite all of you to type in any of the questions that you have for Samir. Please use the Q&A chat that you see at the bottom of the screen. And please do not use the chat function. Just use the Q&A tab to put in your questions for Samir. And we will answer them at the end of the program. So I'm going to give you another 15 seconds or so to please go ahead before we move on to the live Q&A answer session. Good, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over the reins to Reem, who's going to take over moderating those questions and answers speaker-wise and facilitating that for you. So over to you, Reem.
Thank you, Roshan, and morning everyone at BNI. That was a great session. Thank you so much to our three speakers, Wendy, Anna, and Samir. And thank you to all of you who've put some questions in the Q&A bar. So we're going to get straight to it with some questions for Wendy. The first one that has come through from Kunal Vadani. How can he shift his mindset? Are there any tools or practices that he can use to help? I think most people right now have time for tools. So what advice do you have, Wendy?
Okay, for this one, I'd really say consider your daily practices. For lots of people, they find meditation is really helpful. I personally do a lot of breathing. I do balanced breathing that gets me out of my head and reconnected with my body. So think about what you're doing on a daily basis. How are you sort of putting in moments of time in your day to take care of yourself? How are you thinking? You know, it comes back to the crisis versus opportunity. So how are we approaching things as they come up during our day? And are we going from a crisis mindset to the opportunity? So exploring what you can do there. Yes, there are loads of tools and practices out there. Different things work for different people. For me, what's really helping, I'm being coached as well as coaching. I have a coach. So having that daily check-in with somebody who questions me, who challenges me and gets me exploring. At the end of the day, you are the expert of you. So it's finding and discovering what's going to work for you. I can give you all the advice in the world, but taking your own advice is going to be the most useful, and you'll actually take action from that as well. So that would be my suggestion there, is explore, but also speak to people who you know will challenge you and push you to a different level.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Wendy. Building on that, we have Rajaram, who has asked if there are any specific skills or courses that you would recommend can be acquired right now during the lockdown.
Oh, wow, so many. I've personally been doing a lot of courses. The first one I did was how to present online. It's very different from presenting in front of people. And I found that really useful, you know, looking at the camera rather than looking at the faces on the screen has a big impact. So I've really focused my learning and building skills in the area of becoming more virtual. So exploring how to do virtual instructor-led training, how to use Zoom, how to use different functions, how to get people more engaged. I mean, we're so lucky with BNI that we actually fast-tracked this and got our meetings online. So, you know, we're learning this as part of BNI weekly meetings. But the other things, there is so much out there. It really depends on you and your business. There are so many webinars available. There are lots of programs and courses that are being offered free at the moment. So it really depends on what specific skills and courses are going to help you shift and change and build on your skills to move you forward. I know many people are learning how to cook for the first time, but that's more of a hobby. When it comes to professional skills, we've got the BNI Business Booster series. I don't know if you've explored BNI University fully, but you can even do diplomas and so much outside of the BNI space, just on that platform alone, which comes within our BNI membership. There is so much out there. I'm happy to have a chat with you and help you explore what would be most useful for you. But without knowing your business, where you are now and where you want to be, it's it's a huge question in terms of getting specific. Specific needs to be relevant for you and your business. So I hope that answers.
Great. No, I agree. There's so much out there right now. And going on from that, Kevin Fernandez, actually Anna jumped in and responded by text, but he originally asked you what do businesses like the travel industry events who've lost 100% of their business do to keep their spirits up? What do you recommend?
First of all, breathe. Speak to people. Anna once actually says that she can sort of give some advice on this because she's actually in that event space. I'm not an expert of the events and travel industries because it's outside of my area of expertise, but really tap into your connections, explore opportunities. Can we get Anna to jump on and share some tips here?
Yes, Wendy, thank you so much. Kevin, I think I kind of I gave you an initial answer at least, and I share a bit of what we are doing. I want to reiterate this. We think it's very important to look at things and to take things as they are coming. I think there are two options here. One of them is, to just, take everything and start despairing because of things and how things are not moving or how things are passing by or getting worse by the day according to some people's perspective. I tend to disagree on that. I think things are getting better by the day. We are getting close to look at a peak and later on at a flattened curve. So I think what we need to understand is that this is going to be a process. It's going to take some time, and we need to be wise in terms of how we administer that time we have right now. We can be productive with that time, or we can use it only to, fall into despair even more. We from the event industry, or as part of the event industry, have chosen have chosen to use this time in the wisest possible way and work a lot with an optimism perspective, okay, to plan and to reschedule and to reorganize, to review even our websites, even our profiles, and everything that are tools that have to be ready for when the time comes. So my advice is maybe go back, check in your back office what needs to be done, and reorganize your planning, reorganize your strategy, look at your communication, and I think we can move forward. I hope that answers. If not, please you send me an email and I'm happy to continue talking to you. Reem, to you.
Great, thank you both Wendy and Anna for that response. Kind of same but different, but Yvonne has asked, how can people move their mindset when they're going through a lot of emotions? So tapping into what Wendy mentioned already about tools, but anything specifically for emotions, Wendy?
Yes, number one, allow your emotions to come up, because remember, we're going through this grieving process. If we keep pushing them down, it's not going to be healthy for us. So number one is sort of acknowledge emotions, notice how you're feeling. So this is really the introspection of the ice cream. So checking in with your thoughts and feelings. One of the most powerful things that I find is to just breathe. So doing balanced breathing, where you take deep and even breaths, And whatever your in-breath, do the same length for your out-breath. Do a few of those, and it allows you to get out of your headspace and reconnect with your body. So it also creates a space where you have more choices. I think showing yourself that compassion and kindness, we really need to become more aware and acknowledge that we are humans first. And I've even found this with myself. Yeah, I am a coach, I am a trainer, I've got a huge box of tools, and yet sometimes I just need to be and sit with that emotion. So expect them to come up, and just create pockets of time when you can just, you know, feel that depression. I kind of miss that old way of doing things. But then once you breathe a few times, we can start exploring what are the options and opportunities for the future. What are those things about our past that are going to bring us more joy in the future? So what will we keep doing? But also, let's get rid of some of the things that weren't a great thing to be doing in terms of focusing so much on results. I'm really appreciating the times at the moment where there's a lot more focus on people. Relationships are more important than ever now. So yeah, emotions, allow them to come up, talk to your friends, be human, and breathe. Yeah, that would be my top tip there.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to bring Samir into the conversation because he's had a couple of similar questions. We've heard some of the tools that Wendy's recommended, but Samir, you've also had a question from Ganesh Venkatraman, also asking what tools you use to both identify the problem and also to help with mindset.
Thank you, Reem, and thank you, Ganesh, for that wonderful question. I use only one tool, and I think it is the most powerful tool that we can all use. And if it is used effectively, it can create amazing realities, whether it is within our communities, whether it is within our organization, whether it is in our relationship with our families. Conversations. When we have deep, meaningful, effective conversations, everything will begin to shift. We just have to be mindful about the quality of our conversations, because the quality of our conversations defines the quality of our life.
And I've seen you have some very deep conversations with people, so I know that's something that works. Off the back of that, Gopal has also asked any tools or practices specifically for your mindset. Is that anything different there?
So when I say the number one tool is conversations, then it is also important that we surround ourselves with the right kind of people, with the right kind of mindset. If we are surrounded by people who are sucking the energy out of us, we'll be in constant battle mode. So it's very important. And that's one of the prime reasons why a platform like BNI is something that we have to truly leverage upon. Because it gives us the opportunity to be surrounded by empowered conversations. And when we surround ourselves by empowered conversations, then what happens is we have empowered results. And we will get whatever we want in life, because, like I said, the quality of our conversations depends on the quality of our life.
Nice. It's a good thought for the morning. Anna has had a couple of questions. She was very clear about positivity and optimism being two very different things, but Bipin Thomas is asking, don't they go hand in hand? What have you got to say to that?
Yes, actually, what I propose here is that positivity and optimism are two different things. And in which sense? I'm a person that's very attached to factual and scientific information, and optimism does so much better with that than positivity. Okay, positivity is a mindset, as I mentioned before, but it's a mindset that's not attached to an observation of facts. Okay, it's a mindset, it's a decision that you make, but it's a decision that you make that does not necessarily allow you to move forward in planning. Optimism is an outlook, okay, of trends, an analysis of statistics and of information that can be put together in a way that allows you to plan for the future. You might have heard of this very, very popular word right now, that is foresight. Foresight is something that I'm talking about when I talk about optimism. Optimism and foresight go hand in hand, but optimism with positivity propose that we need to take actions. We need to take actionable points on which being accountable is fundamental, and the look that we have at the future with the planning we do have to be positive. What I mean to say is, I can have a positive mindset and say, I want to lose weight, and convince myself that I'm going to lose weight while I'm eating a piece of cake, you know? But I can be optimistic about losing weight when I'm planning an 18-month diet, okay, with the right strategies, tools, and understanding how my body composition works. So optimism has to be accompanied with the right set of actions and with the right set of small targets that are actionable. I hope that answered.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. I'm going to stick with you. It was a question that was originally asked for Anna, but I'll bring Samir in afterwards, which was by Lijo about the importance of having constant conversations. But he asked on an individual level or a community level. And I happen to be aware that you've actually started something on a community level. So maybe you can share the value in that.
Yes, yeah, definitely, Rim. I believe in two things. As Samir mentioned, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your conversations. I completely believe and live by that. And one of the most important things when we talk about conversations is to understand that these conversations happen within our community. And how we choose to be part of that community, and how do we choose to influence that community with our conversations and our invitations to have conversations, I think it's what determines a lot on the outcome and how our lives and how we impact the collective too.
Yeah, so I'm going to move on to Samir, because another community that we need to think about is our teams, our staff, our employees. And Samir, you've had a question from Vaseem Sheikh. What do you suggest as entrepreneurs that we do to keep the morale of our employees positive? Vaseem says, we do care about them, but what would be the best methods to communicate our concern and show we're in this together?
So it's strange that a pandemic has made organization leaders ask this question, right? And a lot of organization leaders are asking this question today: how do we keep our teams and colleagues motivated? The fact of the matter is, we should be doing this all the time, forever. And if they have not been doing, if any of them have not been doing so far, and if they suddenly start pivoting right now in terms of the conversation, there might be a disconnect. There might be a way where they will not see the core essence of the person. They'll think that the leader is trying to take advantage of the situation. So for instance, conversation also is not just about talking, it's a lot about listening as well. And a huge part of what leaders can do today is listen. Listen and understand and internalize the true strengths of each individual. And they are the warriors, they are the foot soldiers, they are the ones who are on the ground, on the battlefield with the customers, who know their business more than the leaders. The leaders are the ones who look at business from a strategic point of view. If they were to go down to the foot soldiers and ask them about what's happening on the battlefield and start listening and not taking the complete onus on their own shoulders and realizing that this is teamwork, this is we are in this together. And if they go in with that mindset into the conversation, if they go in with the empowered intention that we are here together and we're going to solve this together, then the right kind of questions will follow. It's not about the right kind of things to say. What leaders should be mindful about is the right kind of questions to ask. Go into conversations where they are in asking mode rather than in telling mode. And if they go in with that mindset, and if they go in with that as a tool, as a weapon to use questions versus answers from themselves, then they'll be open to identifying new solutions that they probably couldn't even imagine, because they will take the power of the collective wisdom. Bringing teams together and having those open conversations is what will shift everything. And if they don't have the skills to do that by themselves, then they hire facilitators like me.
Excellent plug there. Excellent. Thank you, Samir. I'm going to stick with you because interestingly, that flows straight into Mahesh Agarwal's question, which is, how do you identify the strengths and weaknesses of your team at this point? You mentioned it's about conversations with them, but how do you know they're ready and identify those traits?
So an excellent tool that is out there, which is a scientific tool, is called the Clifton's Strength. It is from Gallup, CLIFTON, STRENGTS, Strength. It costs $49.99 online to do the test. It will take you about 30 minutes. And it will give you a list of 34 different strengths that every human being has. And when you get the report, what the report tells you is what are your top 10 strengths. And this goes back to what I was speaking about in my presentation about identifying what comes to you effortlessly. When you identify what comes to you effortlessly, it means you are tapping into your strengths. And when you tap into your top 10 strengths, then what happens is you can leverage upon them. Now, what is your weakness is another question that people may ask. And according to Gallup's, and I found this is a beautiful definition of what is a weakness. A weakness is anything that comes in the way of your success. Meaning, if you're not able to leverage upon your strengths, if you are not able to tap into your strengths, it becomes your weakness. So when you identify your top 5 and top 10 strengths, according to Gallup's Clifton's, and you do the test and you do it with your team members, ask each one to take the test. You will know what their strengths are on a scientific basis. And then you can have the conversation. You can hire a coach. You can hire someone who will take you through analyzing and getting a better understanding of the report. And once you get a better understanding of the report, once you get a better understanding of each person, and if somebody can piece it together for them, then what will happen is they will see how they can leverage upon different strengths. And that is the reason why people, if they all have the same strengths on the team will suffer. What leaders has to identify and understand and realize is the fact that everyone must bring different strengths to the table. Like, for example, for me, execution is not my strength. Being consistent or disciplined is not my strength. So if on my team, I have someone who is disciplined or who's good at execution or who's good at being consistent in a particular way of doing things, I can allocate all my resources that is required for that part or that kind of a work to that person. And therefore, when you start leveraging on different strengths that each individual has, you can look at how businesses can truly flourish. I hope that answers the question.
Awesome. That was very useful. Thank you. There was a link that I believe you mentioned. If you don't mind sharing that with me, Samir, I'll make sure it's shared with all the participants, which is, I believe, was requested by Vidhi. So we'll make sure you get that. Moving on, I think, Mona, your question, I believe, has been covered by Samir already. But if anyone else has any other methods, Wendy, do you have any methods for business owners, entrepreneurs who are looking for solutions right now? What is a tool that can be used to help in decision making?
Okay, so this really comes down to, I actually use an end-braining process for all decision makings, especially in something like business. So just to give you a quick insight as to how that works, check in with your values. What's truly important about the situation right now? How are people feeling? So yourself, your people, your clients, and how, what are they feeling, what emotions are going on, what are the relationships involved. So that would be exploring the heart. Go up to the head, what are all the possibilities here? What are the facts, the information? What do you really know right now? What is unknown? Is there more information that you need to go and gather before you can fully go forward and explore? And then just take it down to your gut. Connect with who you deeply are. What are the risks involved? And what are the action steps to move you forward? If any of you have ever had gut instincts or gut intuition, listen to it. Because that's your deepest sense of knowing, to be able to tap into your own wisdom and really sort of do what's right and deeply true for you. That comes from our gut. But also consider for your teams making a decision at this point of time. Connect with your teams. How will they feel about the impact of this decision? What will they be thinking? But also, how will this decision impact what they do? So is it going to impact their role in any way? I know for many people, we're having to lay people off or put them onto furlough. So how is that going to impact them as an identity? That's going to have a big knock-on effect for them. And also with business decisions, also put yourself into the place of your clients. So what's important to your clients right now? What are their perceptions? And then at gut level, how is this decision going to impact my client's experience of our company, our product, our services? So it's a great tool for exploring multiple intelligences and sort of tapping into your own wisdom to help you make decisions in the leadership space for your business. So I hope that's a useful one.
Thank you, Wendy. That was. I'm going to go back to Anna. Now that we're talking about decisions and emotions again, you have a question from Naveen Naratinam. Apologies, Naveen. Do you mean positivity is related to the mind and optimism is materialistic or related to your surroundings? What he is asking for a bit more clarity.
Yes. What I was sharing with you is that positivity is a mindset. Both are related to the mind because every action is somehow connected to the human brain and to it through emotions. But positivity is a mindset, okay? It's a mindset. And one of the things, or one of the reasons why I'm bringing up this difference between positivity and optimism is because I have seen a lot of people preaching, okay, about positivity, okay, and sitting in front of Netflix waiting for things to change. So positivity is a mindset that needs to be turned into optimism through actionable points, through plans, and through a strategic thinking and foresight. Optimism is based on the knowledge that things are going to be better. The when is the question, and the optimistic perspective, what does is prepares for that moment. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay. Well, it wasn't my question, so I hope it did. But on that note, Nirav, I'm going to ask a few of you this question, is about how to engage employees on a personal level, apart from work during this lockdown, how to keep them involved with updates, motivated, keep them energized. Any tips on keeping your employees engaged and motivated? So Anna, if you have any comments, then maybe I'll ask all three of you to get a different insight.
Sure. Well, I think in regards to engagement, again, we are going back to that initial key point where I believe we all agree today, and it's about conversations, open discussions, and open them from a framework where you say, look, we are here. Not everyone is ready for those conversations yet. So the we are here or I am here for you, it's a good enough opener to start those conversations. I think that is a lot of motivation for plenty of the staff and of the people that collaborates with us. I don't know if Samir has something else on that.
Yeah. Samir, do you want to add how you would suggest we keep our employees engaged right now?
Yes. So my perspective is leaders feel they have to take the complete weight of everything that is going around on their shoulders. It's not necessary. It is shared responsibility of teams and organizations. And when we come in from that space, when it's almost like the world is flat right now. The curve is yet to be flat for the coronavirus, but the world is becoming flatter in the sense that everyone is coming down to the same level. And if the leader's greatest strength is not creativity, he will not come up with creative solutions at this point of time. But there will be somebody in the team or within the team whose greatest strength is creativity, for instance. It is to leverage upon the creativity of the people within your organization to come up with solutions that works for them. We cannot take what is outside and plug in and say, do this. They have to identify what works for them as a community, as a team, and then they will see that solutions will rise from within them that will solve the problems for them. The intention that they're setting for themselves is to stay in an empowered state of conversations. And when we come from that perspective, then what happens is everything begins to shift. It is also a great opportunity for leaders to realize that they have to start working on the business versus in the business constantly. They have to set aside time and ask themselves, if I'm working on the business, because this is a pivotal moment in the history of their organization for sure, for a lot of organizations. So when they ask themselves, if I were to work on the business, what would that look like? Versus working in the business. Working in the business means survival mode. Working on the business means thriving mode. I hope that answers.
Yeah, no, it's a great tip, and I agree. Right now, we've all got much more time on our hands to work on the business. But just to revert back to the initial question, I'm going to ask Wendy to answer that as well. Any tips you have, Wendy, to keep staff engaged right now?
Yeah, humans first. So connecting with them as an individual rather than an employee. So this is coming from the engagement, so engaging with them, not checking in on them really, but connecting with them from a place of caring and compassion. What else is going on in their world right now? What help and support do they need? Are you creating a space where perhaps your team members can share, like we do in our weekly BNI meetings? We have asks. For many of us, our asks are shifting from I'm looking to connect with a specific business contact to more of our personal needs. You know, what are we asking for ourselves? Can we create platforms where our teams can actually share what their needs are as well? I think that's really important. And also be mindful that some people struggle to ask for themselves. I'm guilty of that myself. I'm so good at sort of helping other people that sometimes I forget, or it's kind of crossing a line a bit, sort of putting your hand up saying, I'm struggling. But we need to get more comfortable with that. So as leaders, creating spaces and platforms where we're creating a safe environment where we can sort of open up and be more supportive to people as humans first. I think that's the important one. So a shift in focus from the business more to the people.
I think even talking about the people, Yvonne has mentioned that she's hearing a lot of people are becoming more depressed due to the COVID situation. How can we help people? I'm keeping this with Wendy. Any specific points that or advice that you would give if we're aware of anyone who may be going through that right now?
Yeah, I think it's depressed is one of the stages of the grieving process. We all have our wobbly moments. Just do what you can to help and support them through it. As leaders, bring in that hope. You know, acknowledge, yes, we're feeling this way right now, and it's a passing phase. So, you know, sitting with our emotions, accepting, right, I'm stressed, if I focus on it, I can think of lots of reasons why I should be feeling depressed right now. And remember, where our focus goes, our energy flows. So if I'm focusing on being depressed, I'm actually creating more depression because I'm creating more reasons why. So allowing some space for that, but you know, it's like, okay, right, I'm feeling depressed. I'm going to give myself a whole 5 minutes of self-pity, depression, and then I'm going to do something different. So helping people come out the other side, and as leaders, really bringing in that calmness and space to allow them to go through it, but also bringing in that hope. So recognizing what they're doing right now, recognizing their strengths, recognizing the different qualities that they bring into the organization, and give them that hope that we're all going to be moving through this. I think it comes back to, we are still very much in the middle of this dark tunnel, and we know there's going to be light at the end of it. We just can't see it yet. And we're all in the same boat. So showing that compassion, we are in this together. Yeah, those would be my tips there.
Showing compassion, I like that. We are in this together. So moving on back to Samir, Yvonne again, mentioning that, sorry, some people are troubleshooting every day. And do you have any advice or tips on how they can move on to the 3 points that you mentioned and be calmer in their decisions?
So, in these troubling times, I would like to go back to your previous question and connect it to the present question as well, about depression or feeling depressed. Vijay said at the beginning of the session something which is the NLP way of looking at things as well, where our thoughts generate feelings, or feelings generate, help us take action, and then it gives us our results. Now, I spoke about the same thing in terms of circumstances that we are in, triggers our thoughts. Our thoughts generate emotions. What we have to realize is emotions don't come before thoughts. We first have thoughts and then we have emotions. So if we are feeling depressed, it is because we are having certain thoughts in our mind. And the fact is, the mind is a muscle, and what we can do is we can exercise that muscle. So if we stop allowing our mind controlling us, and if we start taking ownership of the mind and if we start controlling our mind, then what will happen is we will start moving towards getting greater results. So in these times, to answer Yvonne's question, is to have the right kind of thoughts and to have the right kind of conversations around those thoughts, and to create the space. And this is one of the most important aspects, to create a safe space for those conversations where there is no judgment, where they can be open and vulnerable, where they can, as leaders, reach out to the people and say, I am in this situation, and you tell me what are you in? Because vulnerability, what it opens up is trust. Trust does not come first. Vulnerability comes first. When we can be open to our fellow members, when we can be open to our colleagues, it is telling without saying that I trust you with this information. And when that trust is established, then there is an opportunity for you to start creating those conversations. If the element of trust does not exist, no matter what you do, your employees are not going to come and sit and work with you the way that you want them to. So the first thing that leaders must do is be open to the idea of being vulnerable. Let down their egos. Let down and keep it down. And egos have different connotations, but what I mean is disempowering egos. keep down the disempowering egos, start being vulnerable with your colleagues, have those vulnerable conversations, which creates trust in that environment where they say, this is a safe space for you and I, for us to collaborate and create something meaningful for ourselves and our communities, and for our relationships, and for everything, whether it is within the organization context or within the personal context or our friendships. Vulnerability will lead to trust. Trust will lead to greater results. And to reiterate, any emotion that we feel is a result of the thoughts that we have. Thoughts are in our control. If we start controlling them, then we can control the emotion that we feel. We will not feel depressed. We will not feel unhappy. We will not feel disempowered. If we have to feel empowered, if we have to feel positive or optimistic or any of that aspect, what we have to truly do is take control and ownership of what goes on inside our mind and create the right kind of people around us so that we have the right kind of conversations. Yes.
That's an awesome answer, Samir. It's all about the trust for everyone out there. We're all obviously spending more time online as well. And Vit has sent a question in for Anna. There's so much digital noise out there, more than ever before. How do you filter it out? How do you decide what's worth your attention and what isn't? Anna, do you have any tips for us?
Yes, definitely. One thing that I personally do is I try to look at the news, at the content, and every single piece that comes my way, and evaluating things according to my objective. I think there's always going to be a lot of people. See, it's like if you're in a club, you know, the noise is really loud down there, and you are surrounded by a lot of people who are, you know, adding to that noise. But you choose with whom you want to communicate and whom you want to listen to, whose message is important to you at this point. And I think that's one of the things that Wendy mentioned at the beginning. It's really important to try to go and look for the right sources of information. Verifying the sources is important too. And even if suddenly you get to read something from a source that is official, but something is not, you know, clicking with you, you can do your own research and you choose to trust, you choose to believe, and you at the end of the day choose the kind of information you want to consume, and try to make sure that it's aligned with whatever your objective is. That's what I would say, because that's what I do.
Some great tips there. Yes, definitely. Look at the authenticity of what you're consuming as well. So I'm going to move on the last section of our Q&A, focused on the future and how we can actually move things forward. And we've got some interesting questions. I'm going to start with Rajaram, to Samir. What could be the starting 2 to 3 lines of a conversation to your customers, where perhaps you've submitted a commercial proposal before COVID and everything's been put on hold? I know a lot of us are in that situation where things were going the right way and then, you know, we've had to put pause. So how do you restart that specific conversation, Samir?
So going back to my 3-step process, which is effortless problem solving. The number 2 is problem solving. And when we go back to the customer, every customer buys from us because we are solving a problem or a need for them. If we start becoming deeply curious about their problem and not our own problem of not having money, not having salaries to pay to our employees, if we start becoming deeply curious about the problems of a consumer or a customer, then the right kind of questions will pop up. And like I said, don't go into a conversation with your client or with your customer to say things, but to ask questions. When you're coming from that space where you're coming from deep curiosity of whether you are the person who can serve or solve their needs, or if you can connect somebody within your network to solve or serve their needs, then you will have the right kind of conversation, because your intention is not to convert that proposal that you gave, but to see how you can actually help that client today in his hour of need.
Okay, some great tips there. I'm actually, for everybody right now, if you have any final questions, can you please ask them in the Q&A bar? A few people are being active on the chat. If you ask them in the Q&A bar, we can try and get them in. I've also just shared to all participants the link, the Gallup link, which Samir mentioned earlier, which was about engagement with your teams. We have another question about the tools that can be given to sales teams in particular. So sales teams going forward, how do you keep them engaged and motivated right now? Still with Samir.
For me, once again?
Yes, sales teams and keeping them engaged. That's from Sudesh.
So it's everything that I said so far. It's about understanding your team and understanding what their strengths are, understanding engagement means it can be in two ways: to entertain them or to inspire them or to look forward for better outcomes. It depends on what your intentions are for engaging them. If you're keeping them engaged so that they just stay alive, then you would have a particular kind of conversation. If you want them to keep them engaged so that they go out and do more prospecting for future buyers when things change, then it will be a different conversation. If you go to your sales team and ask them to go and ask your customers, what is the problem that we can solve currently for them, then that's a different kind of engagement. So there is many layers to that question that they will have to uncover for themselves. What is the space or intention that they're coming from before they want to truly engage their sales members or sales team? And when they identify that, then the right kind of questions, the right kind of conversations will pop up.
Okay. So again, we're back to the conversation. So clearly that's the key takeaway from today, have those conversations. I'm going to go to Wendy. It's a bit subjective, and maybe I'll ask both you and Anna, but we've had a question come in from Faisal. Not quite sure what to do with staff, whether Faisal should allow them to take other opportunities during this time, or just hold on and wait and hope for things to get back in action soon. So I think it's subjective, but any thoughts on that, Wendy?
Interesting one. It's about doing the right thing for your people. I remember years ago, I assisted one of my team members. I actually paid for his flight ticket to go and have an interview, and he left me. He got the job, but he came back to me later. So if they're good people, consider what's the relationship with that person. How important is it for them right now? If it's the right thing for them to do right now, then let them go. Keep the relationships, and hopefully they'll come back to you at a later stage. It's really about doing, and it needs to be right for you and the business. I mean, to lose your most productive team member at this stage could be crippling for your business. But if they're already looking or considering moving, then where's the loyalty now? So sometimes depends a lot to be considered here. Sometimes it's good to let people go and develop the people that are left. So interesting question.
Yeah, I'm going to pose that to Anna as well. Anna, do you have anything additional to add to that?
Well, what I would say with that regard is that we always hear a lot of things when it comes to businesses, and one of the let's say most heard advices is don't make it personal. I think I suggest, on the contrary, yes, do make it personal, and do make it also about the other person, right? We are all navigating things in a complete different way. Everyone has an individual reaction to what's happening. And as Wendy said, is if they want to leave, if that's their time, well, you can't do much about it, but you have to accept it. You have to be personal about it, and keep that relationship. I mean, burning bridges is not something you want to do. And I mean, collaborations are always something that can happen and can come back to you. So I would say, yeah, I mean, the parting ways is something that can happen. But as far as you keep that relationship, you can always bring that back and bring the opportunity back for collaborations and for opportunities to take things to a whole different level in the future.
Okay, that's great. All about the collaborations. We have got last few questions now. Just so everyone is aware, we are going to have future webinars which will cover these topics in much more detail. But just to address them to our speakers now, to Samir, Yash has asked, how do we do long-term projections in these uncertain times? I guess just an overview answer, because we will be digging deep in this in the coming weeks.
So how do we do long-term projections? Is it financial projections or projections of your life or projections of whatever you have?
Sorry, I cut you off. I'm presuming it's financial, but go with what feels right for you, Samir.
Absolutely. So we live in changing times. And as Jenny Blake in a book said, it is the next moment that is the most important, right? The next move that you make is the most important. You could be a thriving company like Kodak or Nokia, but you could fall down. So you could be very successful in what you do, but if you're not constantly aware of what the environment is and understanding what constraints that we are in, then we will fall. So to answer that question, it is very simply, you have to leverage on your strengths, identify what is it that you're bringing to the table to solve a need in the market that you feel is more long-term than ever. And when we can identify something that is more long-term as a problem solution, and that's perhaps one of the reasons why Warren Buffett, as an investor, goes into investing mostly traditional businesses. All the business that he is invested into are traditional businesses that are not new age businesses. One of his greatest friends is Bill Gates, but he does not invest into technology. He didn't invest into technology for the longest period of time. I'm not aware if Berkshire Hathaway has started investing. But the fact is, traditional business and traditional way of things is how his perspective was. That does not negate that we have to invest or not invest into technology. But to answer Yash, identify what is it that you bring to the table and don't look at what others are doing. Look at what you can do. And this is a fact that a lot of business owners tend to do very commonly. They try to see what the competitor is doing. They try to see what somebody else is doing. And then they try to ape or imitate those actions, not realizing that that is not perhaps what they do best. If they identify what is it that they do best, what they can create better than what anybody else can create, and if they narrow down their niche, and if they narrow down their focus upon serving their community, and if they come from that space to serve, it will always be long-term.
Okay, that's an awesome answer. Thank you, Samir. We've just got a couple of minutes left and one final question that I'm going to ask to all of you, but I just want to address some of the remaining comments. Rajram mentioned, yes, he invested in Apple big time. Yes, thank you, Rajram, for that comment. Anne Brown has mentioned that a lot has happened in other countries with financial support, and that she's been supporting people with their psychological challenges if they're depressed. I know that's going to be a topic we're addressing again in future webinars, so I'm sure we'll discuss that in more detail next time. Sebi as well, what media or powerful communication do you recommend at this time? I'm super biased because I believe in video all the way, and I think that does have the highest engagement. But yes, email, short videos, pictures. I know we will have future webinars that will focus on media in particular. So thank you all for your comments and your questions. The final question is from Muhammad Irfan. He actually asked it early on, but I thought it was worth saving till the end. And I'm going to ask all three of you, what is the one thing that you would change or that you advise we should all change coming out of the phase we're in now? So we'll start with Samir. What is the one thing you would change?
What is the one thing that I would change? The quality of our conversations.
I love it. To the point, conversations all the way. Anna.
Definitely, I would say we need to work a lot more on being flexible, because I think a lot of the impact and stress we are going through right now is because we are not of a flexible mindset. So all the stress or a lot of the stress we are going through right now is because we are being pushed out of that boxy mindset that a lot of us are, and how attached we are to a certain plan that probably we make. So I think in terms of being easier to adapt and to evolve into all of these new realities that are coming, flexibility would be a definite word that I would keep in mind for the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. And finally, Wendy, what is the one thing you would change?
I think for me, just, for the business mindset, if you like, for going back up until 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, businesses have become so head-based, bottom line, results, targets, KPIs, money, 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 money. It was all about growth and bottom line. What I'd like to see change is more connection with people. Any company, any business, you're only as good as your people, because it's your people who are the ones that are delivering your results. They're the ones connecting and build relationships and, maintaining relationships with our clients. So I would love to see a much more people-centric world emerging after this interesting disruption. I think also when, I'm amazed at how the planet is just recovering so quickly in terms of rejuvenating, and, well, lots of lessons to be learned. So I think, connecting with people and putting a focus on how we can positively make an impact collectively for us, our future, and of course the planet. That would be not much to ask for, I know, but yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Awesome. So that's an awesome summary there. Thank you to our speakers. You've heard it. Our takeaways from Samir, conversations; from Anna, flexibility; and from Wendy, it's connectivity and connectivity with people. So thank you to all of you for all of your time, everyone on the panel for your questions, and I'm going to hand over back to Roshan.
Thank you, Reem, for an awesomely facilitated Q&A session. A lot of great ideas, great conversations came out of that. As you all know, we are having these BNI Forward webinar series in various topics over the course of the next few weeks. And I would like to just quickly call upon Samrat, who is going to organize our next webinar, and for him to share the details with you very quickly. Samrat, over to you.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to all the participants and the speakers, Wendy, Anna, Samir, and of course, our very own Reem. Thank you guys. It was amazing to be a part of this this early morning. Keeping in mind everything that has been shared this morning about being engaged, being connected, about the questions people asked about mindset and about emotion management, we're going to be organizing a tool or an activity-based evening on Monday. So at 5 p.m. on Monday evening, we'll be doing we'll have an activity that'll help you and assist you in your well-being and in your ability to be connected. So please register once the links are out. Share it widely with whoever you'd like to. Everybody is welcome to these webinars, and we'd love to help whoever we can with these, because the more people we can help, the stronger and sooner we'll be out of this. So let's do this and let's be powerful together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Samir. So today, it's been great. It's been awesome to spend our morning in such a manner, positiveness, and a lot of aspects that we had in our minds could have been cleared through the Q&As. And I'm sure that you are taking a lot back to your personal lives as well as to your businesses. So opportunities, optimism, conversations. That's exactly what we have covered today. And we really hope that, and we trust that you have taken some valuable insight through our great panelists and speakers that we had today. Thank you for all those participants for coming in. Please follow the BNI Forward series, Powerful Together, which will be rolled out more. We will be rolling out more webinar series for you to attend, covering various topics of well-being, mindfulness, positivity, and also business, management, sales, marketing, strategies, etc. And please look out for this space. We will be announcing those webinar series very soon. And just like Samrat said, the next is on Monday. As BNI members, you have 2 CEU points that you can log on for attending this webinar. Please go ahead and do that because we are constantly learning. So once again, thank you for all the participants. Thank you to our speakers for doing a great job. And we look forward to seeing you again with BNI Forward, Powerful Together. Have a great day, everybody.